Good evening. Good evening. Hi guys, my name's Anthony Grupido. I'm 24 years old and all the way from Lake Orion, Michigan. Yeah. We're living as a vacation, which is why so many people there are on probation. You know, as a magician, I've had a lot of fun. When I was 18, I lived in a car and I street performed for a living. I've had the extreme privilege of opening for a lot of people at the National Cherry Festival, including the Impractical Jokers, Bill Engvall, and Darcy Lynn, the ventriloquist, who won America's Got Talent. I have a lot of fun going around the country as a magician. But as a speaker, I speak to about 150,000 students a year about the topic of suicide, which is why I'm here today. See, as a magician, it's easy for me to walk out on stage with all the lines that I have memorized. But it's just an act. I'm about to tell you a story, and I would appreciate if everyone took their phones and put them back into their pockets. Because it's a story that I would never share with you or that you wouldn't know about me unless you were here today. Because I wouldn't like talking about this in a normal setting. So let's jump right into it. When I was in 5th grade, I got bullied so bad that I had to move schools. And I took that out on myself for the first time with a pair of scissors and self-harmed. I went to a private middle school where I learned nothing about mental health or coping skills. And then got thrown into a very large high school. See, in my school, Kingsbury Country Day, in junior kindergarten through 8th grade, there were only 124 students total. And at Lake Orion High School, where I went later, there were 3,000 students. And in just a matter of 3 years, I lost 13 friends and classmates to suicide. We had one of the highest rates in the entire nation. But we didn't know what to do about it because teachers aren't trained. In 2010, I was a wrestler. In fact, I grew up in a wrestling family. My Uncle Kent started the United States Girls Wrestling Association that allowed women to wrestle in the Olympics and collegiately. So I grew up in a wrestling family, and in 2010, at the 135-pound weight class, I won the United States Boys Wrestling Association tournament. I wrestled through high school. In my junior year, I was on a 20-match win streak, completely undefeated. And I was wrestling at the Silverdome for the county meet, one of the last events to ever take place there. I was up by 7 points and chose the down position. And when I went to stand up, I got taken and slammed on my head, damaging my head and tearing both of the rotator cuffs in my shoulders. And I found out the next day I would never be able to wrestle again. And I found out soon after that the scholarship that I'd worked so hard for and wrestled year-round for would be taken away from me because I was no longer of any value or worth to an organization that I dedicated my entire life to. And I thought, you know what? I still have my academics. This will be great. I can get through this. Well, my mother, a decade prior, had to leave her job of work and couldn't go back for reasons that we don't have to talk about today. And my dad, at this exact same time, had gotten laid off from his job and then lost a lawsuit that put us in so much debt that he couldn't file or pay for his taxes. So I wasn't able to receive any of those grants or scholarships that I'd worked so hard for academically. And I couldn't even take out a loan to go to a community college because they couldn't base my family's income off anything. So in a matter of a week, my entire 4-year plan after high school was completely gone. And I was a wrestler who cut weight, so my diet was destroyed, and I couldn't work out because of my shoulders. So most of the positive coping skills that I didn't even know were coping skills were taken away from me. And that's when my life began a downward spiral. I didn't use drugs. I didn't use alcohol. I used self-harm to cope with my depression and the traumatic situation that happened. A lot of people say self-harm, that's for attention. Well, if so, how did 7 months of my life go by without my parents noticing, 2 of my sisters noticing, my friends, my classmates? Every single day I would do this for myself. And just like a drug, it gave me a temporary relief. It made me feel like I was in control, but what I didn't know is just like any other negative coping skills, it would make things worse. I was trying to manage my symptoms for depression and stress and anxiety, but because I never knew how, because the schools fail us to teach us that. And I'm sorry, Michigan, handing an 8th grade health teacher with no mental health training a book written in the 1990s isn't helping. That's more dangerous. Every single morning, sneaking off in school, after school, I would do this. Until one day I stopped feeling pain. My depression got so bad that the symptoms made it so I wasn't able to taste food, smell things correctly. And yes, my depression got so bad that my physical vision was affected. The school said, you need 3 people to go to when you're feeling like this. And the first person I went to said, be a man, suck it up. The second person I went to said, it's just your hormones. And the third person I went to had nothing good to say at all, and I lost all hope. I was in pain, and I needed it to stop. I didn't want to die, but I didn't know any other way. And that's when I attempted suicide. Not once, not twice, but on 3 separate occasions, I attempted to take my own life and walked through the front doors of my parents' house, who knew nothing about it, sat with my friends and classmates the next day. And they never knew because they never asked. And they never asked because why would they? I had friends, I had grades, and every single day when you walked past me in the hall, they said, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. But that means nothing. It wasn't until I forgot to come to school with sleeves on one day that somebody went to the school counseling office and told them what they saw. From there, I was taken down to the office, and they didn't ask me, what was wrong with you? They said, Anthony, what happened? How did we get here? And that's where the conversation started. From there, I was taken to Common Ground as an inpatient, where I had to rehabilitate myself and learn how to cope with trauma and stress. And then I was released to Oakland Family Services as an outpatient. A lot of people are confused why I'm telling you this story in a straitjacket and 40 feet of chain. That's because this is how I felt every single day, not physically, but mentally. I felt trapped, claustrophobic, and hopeless. But the tools I learned in therapy taught me how to overcome any obstacle, both physical and mental. Step 1 to overcoming anything, ladies and gentlemen, is just by taking a deep breath. Because if you take that deep breath in, let it out. You free yourself of the weight that you think you carry. Because that 40 feet of chain was never tight. It was just an illusion. Most of the weight and problems that we think we carry in our lives isn't really there. Take a deep breath, sweat it off, so you can deal with the real problems that you have control over, which in my case is getting out of a straitjacket. To overcome any obstacle, you have to start somewhere. And just building some momentum to work things up and into the past takes a lot of bravery, makes you look back at life, unfortunately. But that's not the way to go. Keep looking forward and let the little things slide by. Because when things get most painful, that's how you know you're almost out. So take it from me, I'm 24 years old and I'm doing just fine. No, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a magician and I've never fooled a person in my entire life. What I mean by that is the brain fools itself. I can't read your mind. I can't take what you're thinking of and throw it onto a phone screen. But you know what I can do? I can use the tools around me to accomplish what you think is impossible. And one of the biggest relations to magic in our world today is that you are the magician. Because everything that you speak creates something. There's a word that 90% of the population knows how to say. It's abracadabra. Abracadabra is Aramaic. My mentor, Andrew Bennett, taught me that abracadabra translates to what I speak is what I create. And every single day, the words that you speak create images in people's heads of your self-worth, of their self-worth, and of somebody else's self-worth. You can use your words to make people laugh, to give them goosebumps. Words are so powerful, our realest form of magic, that they can make people fall in love. But words are also powerful enough to inflict pain, to worsen people's anxiety, to cause them stress, to worsen depression. And yes, I will tell you that your words are powerful enough to drive someone to end their own life. So every single day, speak positivity. Speak kindness into creation. Because we are all deserving. We all have a purpose, and we are all here for a reason. I want to remind you that money, cars, things like that have nothing to do with wealth. True wealth is your friends, your family, and the people that add experiences into your life. That's where most happiness comes from, that connection. Pain, struggle, and trauma are all part of the human experience. And they are not unique. Your pain, your struggle, your trauma is not unique. It is something that we all go through. So make the mental health stigma disappear. And speak up for somebody who isn't able to speak up for themselves. Because if nobody had done that for me in high school, I never would have went to prom, I never would have graduated, I never would have gotten to do all the cool things that I got to do, and I wouldn't be here on stage today. I want everyone in the room to know that you really do matter. And that if you're faced with the choice to always choose the high road, because it's the only road that will take you home. Be a hero for yourself and choose your words carefully, both externally and internally, because what you say to yourself is very important. Thank you, guys.